Hello and welcome to day 10 of Advent of Code 2024. In this video, we're getting an input which is just like this, and we're starting from any 0 position, and we're trying to get to 9 by moving horizontally or vertically, and in each step we need to move just one level higher. So from this 0 we can get to this one, and then from this one we can get to this 2, to this 3, to this 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8, 9. So for example, this is a valid trail. Now, for each of these zeros, we need to find how many 9s can we reach from that, and that will be its score. So, for example, here from this 0, we can get to 2 9s, 2 distinct 9s from here. One is like this, and one is like this. And then, for example, for this one, we can get to 1 9 by this, and for this one, 1 9 is like this, and 1 9 is like this. And from this 0, obviously we cannot get to this 9, because when we get to 7, we need to go to 8, but there is a 6 here, so the path is kind of blocked. So the value for this would be 1, because there is 1 9 reachable by this 0, and for this is 2, because it's like reachable like this and then reachable like this. Okay, so if we go to the code for part 1, first we need to get all the zeros from the input. That is done here. So we would have a double for loop, and if the input at that position is 0, because we have converted it to number up here, then we push it to the zeros array. Then down here we need to calculate the scores for all the zeros. Now, for each of the zeros, we will put that 0 into the queue. We're going to have a queue, and then pop from that queue whenever there is a candidate. For each of these zeros, we would take a look at the next position that they have, and if there are any, we would put that next position into the candidates. So for example, here for let's take a look at this one. So from this, there are 2 candidates. One is this one, and one is this one. Okay. But for example, for this, there are 3. One is here, one is here, and one is down. For this one, there is only one. This is the candidate that it has. Now we would do this until we get to a 9. If we get to a 9, then we are already done. We would score 1 for that 0, because from that 0 we could get to a 9. Then we need to, of course, remove the duplicates that we found. So for example, here if we start from this 0, we can get to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and also 3, 4, 5. So we get to these 5 from 2 different 4s. So we need to remove one of these, because if we go from this 5 to a 9, we are going to count it twice. Okay, so one is like this and one is like this, but we need only one of them. So from this 0, I get to this 9. From this 5, I need to count it only once, because although there are distinct paths from this 0 to this 9, but we are already getting to this 9, so we are caring about the 9 that we get to. So that is done here. We look on the candidates, and if we found another candidate with the same value like this in the list of candidates, we would just remove it. Now, this part, which is doing the find next, is pretty standard and easy. We get the current value. So for example, we are at, let's say, this 7. The next candidate for this 7 is only this 8, because all of the other ones are smaller than this. So that is done here. For the position that we pass here, we take the value and we check against all the 4 directions of that specific spot, and if that is 1 bigger than this current spot, then it can be a candidate for the next step. So yeah, that was it for puzzle part 1. For puzzle part 2, the thing that we are considering is basically the paths that we can go from 0 to 9. So that is important for us. So again, if we get from this 0 to this 9, we need to count all the possible paths. Now the only difference between this part and the previous part is that in the previous part, when we get to this 5 from this path or from this path, we ignored one of them because the number 5 was important for us, not all of the ways to get to this 5. So this is like going to the part 1 and just remove this for each that we have here, basically this part. Now when we remove this part, we will keep all the distinct ways going from 1 0 to 1 9, and we get to the final answer. So yeah, it was it for this puzzle. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if that's the case, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel.